On October 27th, 2022, members of the Special Investigations Section Unit of the Rochester Police Department executed a search warrant at 1267 North Clinton Avenue here in the city of Rochester. Upon entering the location, they secured the defendant, David Rivera Ruiz, along with his wife and 3 small children. Upon searching the residence, they located large quantities of fentanyl and cocaine. Immediately prior to the entry of the officers, perimeter officers observed Mr. Ruiz throw a bag out from the second floor window. That bag was recovered, and inside we located 2 firearms, one an Intertech 9mm and the second one a Glock 9mm. Next to the Glock 9mm were 2 extended magazines capable of handling 31 bullets each. In one of the extended magazines, it was filled with 29 rounds of 9mm ammunition. Upon further examination of that particular firearm, it was determined that the original backplate of that gun had been removed and replaced by a converter switch. A red converter switch would allow that gun to be converted from a semi-automatic gun in which the individual would have to pull that trigger one time in order to discharge each shot. With this converter switch, an individual only had to pull that pull that trigger back one time to discharge every single bullet in that magazine. And in this case, it could have been up to 29 rounds within a few seconds. It's the first time that we've convicted somebody in the Western District of New York after trial for possession of one of these machine guns in furtherance of his drug trafficking efforts. And here's the thing. This charge carries a mandatory minimum term of imprisonment of 30 years in prison. It is statutory. The judge has no discretion. So I guess the key, and ATF can talk about it, if you want to possess these Glock switches with these converter devices on them and you want to deal with drugs, you will be facing a 30-year mandatory minimum. And of course, we are going to begin charging those whenever appropriate. Mike, why don't you fill in the best?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Machine gun conversion devices have no place on the streets of our communities. They are weapons intended to kill and injure with maximum effect, with the shooter often firing uncontrollably and indiscriminately. They pose a significant danger to both the public and law enforcement. Today's conviction serves as an important reminder that machine gun conversion devices, such as switches, violate federal law, and that possession will be swiftly discovered and punished. The men and women of ATF will continue to work with our partners to reduce the proliferation of these devices on our streets. Thanks to ATF's Rochester's Violent Crime Task Force, the Rochester Police Department, Monroe County District Attorney, and the U.S. Attorney for the Western District for bringing this individual to justice. Thank you.
Do either of you have anything you want to add? So the message, again, 30-year mandatory 30-year mandatory sentence for this type of device, for having this device once they're convicted. The public needs to understand we will not stand around and allow machine gun-like guns to be in our communities to hurt individuals in the community. So I want to give a lot of praise to Doug Gregory and Brandon Gonzalez, who tried the case today, and to our partners, RPD and ATF, for their law enforcement work. And do you have any questions?
Why was it so important to come together for this press conference today? I know this is the first conviction of its kind, right? Is this a way that your office would like to send a message?
A couple of things. Yes, we want to send a message. We will prosecute these cases like AUSA Gregory said. Also, it is a department priority, Department of Justice priority, that we charge these cases when we find these switches and guns. It's an ATF priority that we do this. So if you pull the trigger once and you fire 30 rounds, you are bound to hit and hurt someone. So it is a priority of the Department of Justice and the U.S. Attorney's Office in this district that we prosecute these cases when they come to us.
Do you guys have any idea how he was able to get one of these switches?
You want to answer?
In terms of this trial, we were not able to determine specifically how it was that he obtained this Glock 9mm with a switch, but I can tell you, and I'm sure that Mike can tell you as well, you can get these switches, these converter switches, off the internet. They're shipped through China. They can be made in a 3D machine. They're readily available, unfortunately. The problem is how dangerous they are when they are placed on a otherwise semi-automatic weapon. And you remove that original back plate and you put this switch on there, it converts it to a fully automatic. And we have that gun for you to look at here today.
Were the weapons otherwise legally acquired or no?
Not legally acquired. In addition to being convicted of possessing these guns in furtherance of drug trafficking, he was also convicted of being a prior felon in possession. He was convicted in New Jersey in 2016 of a felony crime. Therefore, it was per se illegal for him to have any weapon or any ammunition of any sort.
If this is one of the first times that you guys are actually prosecuting somebody for this, and how common are these things on our streets? I know you guys are taking guns all the time. Are you guys seeing a lot of these?
We are seeing a lot of those.
Can you step to the podium?
I'm sorry.
Your first and last name.
Commander Juan Kavanaugh, the Rochester Police Department, and we are seeing a lot of the Glock switches. We are seeing a increase every year in ghost guns, and that's why we're working so hard with the ATF and all our partners and the U.S. Attorney's Office and Monroe County District Attorney's Office in terms of trying to get these off the street, because we know how dangerous they are. They increase the chances of striking and causing more victims in one shot, and we need to stop this. The public needs to also assist us in this. Thank you.
For clarification purposes, this is the first conviction and commission of a drug crime, or is this the first conviction?
No, we routinely prosecute individuals here in federal court for drug trafficking offenses, and if during the course of the drug trafficking offense they also possessed weapons, we'll charge them with another violation, which is called 924C, which is possession of a firearm in furtherance of their drug trafficking activities. And we routinely charge that here in federal court. And that also carries mandatory minimums. If it's found that an individual possesses a firearm in furtherance of the drug trafficking activities, it's a mandatory minimum of 5 years up to life imprisonment. If they brandish or display that gun during the course of their drug trafficking activities, it's a mandatory minimum 7 years and up to life. And if they discharge that firearm in the course of their drug trafficking activities, it's a mandatory minimum of 10 years up to life, consecutive to any other conviction in this matter. So if they're convicted on the underlying drug charges and they get time for that, the 924C charge and the sentence that is attendant to that will be consecutive. They'll have to serve that in addition to.
Can you speak a little bit more to why having these devices in the public is so dangerous to the community?
I can certainly do that, and I know that ATF can as well, but you can just imagine it in drive-by shootings. An individual may have a suspected target in view, but when you're discharging 30 rounds within 2 or 3 seconds, you have no control over that, where those bullets fly. And unfortunately, we've seen time and time again innocent people, children, teens, adults, people who are in homes, just watching TV, and bullets are ricocheting through their house. So when you have that many bullets flying, and it's completely indiscriminate as to where they land.
And this is the first conviction relating to the switch itself, the possession of a switch during the furtherance of a drug crime?
In furtherance of a drug crime. We will also charge it's illegal just to possess the switch itself. It doesn't even have to be attached to the gun. If we just have the converter, that is, just the converter, the little piece, is also a machine gun under federal law. It doesn't even have to be attached to the gun. I mean, obviously, if it's attached to the gun, it's much more dangerous. But under Section 922O of Title 18, just possessing that switch, that converter, makes that a machine gun charge, and we routinely charge that as well.
And I think if you go to the internet, you could put this information in, and ATF has up videos of the harm that this type of device does and how it makes a regular semi-automatic gun a machine gun. And I would say you should go and see that, and you will have a complete understanding of why this is so unacceptable and why we take it so seriously. Mike, do you want to add?
Yeah, when you shoot a semi-automatic pistol, you can aim one at a time. But when you have a machine gun conversion device attached to it, you can't control where the rounds are going. And numerous rounds come out in a second or two, 20, 30 rounds, and they go everywhere. So people can get injured very easily with these things. They're very dangerous.
And a large number of people, I should say, a large number of people in the shortest amount of time are injured when people have these type of devices on their guns.
And in your experience, where are people most like, where are people finding these devices? Because obviously they're not sold.
Well, I think like Doug said, you could buy them online. There's the dark web. I know they sell them there. They're being shipped in from outside the United States, but they can also be made on 3D printers. So it's lots of different ways that people are getting these devices, and this is a big problem in our country right now.
What's next in this case? When is sentencing?
Sentencing is now scheduled for October of 2024. The defendant was remanded to custody today, where he will stay until he's sentenced in October